peace, and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is April the 24th, 1443 on the ancient moon calendar, and 1442 on the ancient sun calendar, 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar, 5782 on the ancient Hebrew calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan court action. We are the sovereign living justices in capitis nationall, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign living justice Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free sovereign appellation is like to jure. Both are in capitis nationall, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural divine, ancient empire state of Morocco, the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, the universal Moorish American consulate, and the Article 3 Moorish American consular court. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, not so far. Today, we're going to talk about paying yourself first. Our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, said, if I can just get you to think, you'll save yourself. And paying yourself and saving yourself are pretty much the same thing, and you'll see what we mean as we progress in this sharing session. We're doing things the right way as opposed to the way things were done before. So before, the people would come together to build something, a church, a store, a business, whatever it was. The people would come together first to build that. What we're doing is the other way around, where we are using the empire to build up the people first so that then the people can build the empire. We have to build ourselves up first because we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot. And so we need to build ourselves up first so that we can build the empire. So having those thoughts in mind, we're talking now about the merchant card. Merchant card owners, which is all Moors, are merchants. We've always been merchants throughout the ages, and that is why navigation is so important for us, because we traveled everywhere doing merchant commerce. Merchant card owners are encouraged to have the proper documents on the public record along with a business strategy and a budget for your business. Okay? And that will become clearer as to why we do that. Now many Moors are already in business. Those who are already in business, I would encourage you to review your business strategy and the budget for your business so that there is clarity when others see your business strategy and your budget. The laws of the empire require that we save ourselves first and then assist others. Pay yourself first is an ancient law of sowing, of reaping, and harvest that can be found throughout the ancient writings, starting with the Holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which reads as follows. Chapter 31, the holy instructions from the prophet, where the title of the chapter is Justice. That chapter 31, verses 1 and verse 12, it says, the peace of society dependeth on justice, the happiness of individuals on the safe enjoyment of all their possessions. And verse 12 says, pay the debts that thou owest, for he who gave thee credit relieth upon thine honor. We're the ones who gave everyone out there credit. We did that. And it's time now for them to pay the debts that they owe. Okay? That is what the merchant cards are doing. It provides a way for those who owe the Moors debt to pay them. We needed to create an avenue for them to pay, or else they could not be in honor, because they cannot create that themselves. We had to do it. It also says, and this is straight from the Holy Koran, it says, and to withhold from him his due is both mean and unjust. For, verse 12, pay the debts which thou owest, for he who gave thee credit relieth upon thy honor. And to withhold from him his due is both mean and just. It's called due. What's due? Due process. We needed to create the justice to give them the opportunity to pay and to be in honor. The only debt that we owe is to ourselves and to our heirs and to each other. In order to we have to make everyone else, put everyone else in honor by us getting in honor first, straight from the Holy Koran. It also says in chapter 27, the holy unity of the rich and the poor. It says here, it says, verse 1 through 8. Actually, not 1 through 8. It's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The man to whom Allah hath given riches and blessed with a mind to employ them aright is peculiarly favored and highly distinguished. What does this say? This means that Allah has already given us the riches. We already have them. We just needed to create a way for us to enjoy the vast estate. It says, he looketh on his wealth with pleasure, because it affordeth him the means to do good. These merchant cards are for us to first save ourselves according to the law, and then to do good for others. You cannot do good for others if you've not done good by your own self. For yourself first. You can't help your heirs or anything if you don't help yourself first. Verse 5 says, he assisteth and rewardeth merit. He encourages ingenuity and liberally promoteth every useful design. This means that Allah has given within us the ability to assist and to reward merit. He's given us the ability to encourage ingenuity and liberally promote useful design. Number 6, verse 6 says, he carrieth his own great work. No one has to do this for us. We have to do it for ourselves. These are great works that we're doing, all of us. We do that for ourselves. We don't wait for anyone else to do it. It says, his country is enriched and the labor is employed. He formeth new schemes and the arts receive improvement. Verse 7, he considers the superfluities of his table as belonging to the poor of his neighborhood, and he defraudeth them not. The benevolence of his mind is not checked by his fortune. He rejoiceth therefore in riches, and his joy is blameless. We were meant to be rich and wealthy, but our minds had to first get in alignment with what that looks like. It looks like us being ourselves on our own land. And that way, as we continue to move in the wealth that is on our land, that the wealth doesn't have us. We have it. The benevolence of his mind is not checked by his fortune. Our fortune doesn't have to check us. It doesn't have to check us. We're not going to be mean and rude to people as we move further in this. We're going to be kind and honorable, because that's the only way that this type of wealth comes to anyone, is through honor. We talked about that. When you look up the word honor, it says credit. When you look up the word credit, it's going to start talking about honor. We are Allah. Chapter 29, Magistrate and Subject, specifically mentions the merchant. Verses 1 through 13, it states that, it says, O thou the favorite of heaven, and this is, by the way, my favorite, one of my most favorite chapters in the book, the Holy Koran. O thou the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. So we were meant to be ruling over others. Okay? That's why this is called the magistrate and subject. And the only way that you can rule over others is by court action. Court action. And honor. So, and I'm not preaching at you all because you all know this already. I'm just affirming what you already know. It says, consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. The crown of majesty invested thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thine hand. But the scepter of power is the red pen, okay? That's our scepter. That pen decides what's acceptable and what is not acceptable, okay? But not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thine own, but the good of thy kingdom. And then you all can read the rest of this. I'll just get to the part that speaks of the merchant. It says in verse 10, the spirit of the merchant who extendeth his commerce, the skill of the farmer who enricheth his land, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of the scholar, all these he honoreth with his favor or rewardeth with his bounty. Rewarding with bounty means that we're supposed to be doing exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. Getting in alignment so that our land flourishes, so that the commerce on our land flourishes. We're actually doing this in order to grow more commerce, not just ours, but that of others as well. And then I'll put a link in the chat with regard to this, the Holy Koran in the Library of Congress, because some don't know that it is in the Library of Congress. But the Holy Koran, this very one that we read from, it is in the Holy Koran, in the Library of Congress. So here, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat, the link to it. And that link will be under this video on social media. I'm on YouTube at Like Tajiri Bay. Okay. Just one moment. Okay. There are other ancient writings that talk about us paying ourselves first. We're supposed to be wealthy. We're supposed to be, and this is not the same as, for example, a quote unquote prosperity gospel, because we actually have to live this. This is not something where we are passing the plate and getting things from other people. Okay, and that's another reason why the empire can build us up first, so that we can build the empire. We don't have to pass the plate. We are the plate. We are the wealth. We are the prosperity. That comes first, and then we build. The Bibliotheque, which is a legal code book, okay, so see it as a legal code book for those who may feel some type of way about the Bibliotheque, which Bible just means book. But because it talks about the way we're supposed to live in the first place. Pay yourself first. It says here Malachi, and Malachi is actually the keys of Allah. In ancient times, when the ancient sibyls wrote it, they wrote it that way. It says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. The storehouse is you and me, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see that I will throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much abundance that there will not be room enough to store it. Note, you will always have more than enough when you pay yourself first. Okay? And we're going to show you how to do that today. Deuteronomy 8:18. It says, and this is one of my favorites, you shall remember that you are the law and you are God, for it is the law who gives you power to get wealth, which affirms the covenant that was given by your foremothers and forefathers as it is this day. Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. We have sown from test to test to test, and this is why testing is so important, because when you get into testing, you're sowing and you'll reap according to how you test. Proverbs 3:9 and 10, honor the Lord with your wealth. And who is the Lord? Who are the lords of the land? That's you. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Deuteronomy 14:22. Be sure to set aside a tenth of all that your fields produce each year. Be sure to set aside a tenth of all that your fields produce each year. Malachi 3:8. And 3:8-9 says, will a man rob the God? Yet you are robbing me. And this is you robbing yourself when you don't do this. But you say, how have we robbed you? In your tithes and contributions. You are cursed with a curse, for you are robbing me, the whole nation of you. Pay yourself first, and then it goes to building empire. Empire, empire, empire. Because it's through our empire that everything else flourishes. Hebrews 7:1 and 2. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. And to him Abraham apportioned a tenth part of everything. He is first, by translation of his name, king of righteousness, and then he is also king of Salem, that is, king of peace. So there are those who say that they are the sons of Abraham, and you know, we know the story of Abraham. It's a great story. It's the patriarchal side of the matriarchal principle. Okay. Melchizedek is first and foremost the matriarchal energy. And some may not want to believe that, but do your research. Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek because Melchizedek was actually the peace, and Melchizedek was actually the righteousness. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Righteousness is justice. Pay yourself first. Okay? So now, how do we pay ourselves? First, where merchant cards are concerned. We're going to go back to, because again, we're building on what we've done previously, because the documents that we've done, some people say, oh, that's not necessary, you don't have to do all of that. We actually do have to do it. And this is why. We can look back at the document that we did called the Termination of All Corporate Contracts. And when you look back at that document, it's going to show you exactly how to pay yourself. So let's take a look at where the credits, some of the credits will come from. Some of them. This is just one part of our vast estate. I mean, we have credits are coming from everywhere. 100 million is nothing in comparison to what's due. But we first want to, again, pay ourselves first and save ourselves. So what do? We look at the termination of all corporate contracts, and we begin to return everything that was taken. Okay? So now, let's review first the way that the United States Corporation Company used our credit. And this will help us to understand what we're doing, okay? So let's say a sleeping moor would contract with a bank or a policy enforcer or a corporation or a fake court or something of that nature, anything where any debt occurred. A sleeping moor will contract. The U.S. Corporation Company doing business as that bank or that policy enforcer or whoever or whatever, not whoever, but whatever you contracted with, would enter the contract into the U.S. system under a nom de jure. And see, they were intent on putting it there because that's a debtor. And that's the only place that debt can be held is under a nom de jure. That's why we lien them. And then it says the U.S. system would notify the U.S. Federal Reserve Corporation that a contract had been made. Because, see, the Federal Reserve can look in that system at any time. Whether it's a driver's license, whether it's a fake court action, or corporate court doing something, a summons, or anything like that. Okay, the summons is an invitation to contract. And all of that is put into that the fraudulent system, and then a fake Federal Reserve would look in that system. And whenever they see that contract, they would then, the U.S. Federal Reserve would see the contract, and they would then notify the U.S. Department of the Treasury Corporation and forward the contract to them. Because, again, the Federal Reserve held all the nom de jure, all the war names. You hear people saying, in the Federal Reserve, in the Federal Reserve. You hear citizens saying that, end it. That means end the war. End the war. So a corporate Federal Reserve that is not crafted and created by the Moors is at war. So they would then forward, the U.S. Federal Reserve Corporation would then notify the U.S. Department of the Treasury Corporation and forward the contract to them. And all this is being done in a system. They just needed to scan in that autograph or that consent or write down the consent. You know, did you know that police reports are actually them saying, yes, this Moor consented to be a citizen? That's really all it is. And then it says, this is where the U.S. Department of the Treasury would turn the contract into a borrowing contract because there's an autograph on it. And if the autograph is by the heir, then it's automatic use of the credit. So they would turn it into a borrowing contract where the U.S. Department of the Treasury would borrow the credit of the Moor who signed the contract to support the U.S. system. And then the U.S. Department of the Treasury Corporation would then create a U.S. Treasury bond, okay, and as many U.S. derivatives as could be made. And in many cases, again, when you look at the GMEI utility website, and you see all of these bonds under there, you put in one Social Security number that was created by the frauds, and you see all of these bonds, millions and millions and millions of bonds and derivatives. That's what was created when just one contract and you got 50,000 bonds created. So the U.S. Department of the Treasury Corporation would then create a U.S. Treasury bond and as many U.S. derivatives as could be made, and then the U.S. Department of the Treasury would then pass the bonds back to the U.S. Federal Reserve, who would then pass them out to the banks as reserves in the bank. So our autographs were supposed to be the reserve, but because we did not know we had a sovereign status, we were actually pledging ourselves as the surety for those bonds. Just by signing one thing. You go down the street and you think that you're just getting a little $50 payday loan. And you don't realize you've pledged your whole self as surety. Meanwhile, the banks are creating reserves, the stock market is creating derivatives, etc., off of that one thing. Finally, both the U.S. banks that receive the reserves and the Federal Reserve place the U.S. bonds and derivatives on the U.S. stock market, and the U.S. cycle would continue to be fed with just one contract. Because with just one contract, they could take that, and if the company went bankrupt, they would include that in their bankruptcy papers, and then also as revenue in the new thing, whatever new thing emerged from them filing bankruptcy. And then the bankruptcy documents will go on the stock market too. And then those who bought that, they would create derivatives from that. So just one contract. That's why we had to terminate all of them. One contract, and you're feeding lots and lots and lots of debt, people who eat off of debt. Okay? So that is how the debt is created from the contract. So what did we say we were doing? We were going to terminate all corporate contracts so that we could use our own credit. So let me pull up a termination of all corporate contracts. I'll pull up the one that I did for myself so that we can see how we're turning this into paying ourselves first and into the credit that we have. So this is the termination of all corporate contracts. And many of you have seen these where we did terminate. So if you'll notice, again, there's the termination from the dead United States Corporation Company. Also, the certificate of live birth. Well, we terminated that. And then there's a lot of different accounts and things listed here, okay? All of these accounts is actually credit. And we said that at the time. At the bottom of these terminations of all corporate contracts, there is a statement that states that this is the credit. Okay, hold on for just one moment. And my apologies. I did it again. Okay. Can you see it now? Okay. My apologies. Let me start at the top. So this is the termination of all corporate contracts. Okay. And it has these accounts and things on it. It has a certificate of live birth. It's got VA military information because I used to be in the Air Force. It's got Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion credit reports, IRS tax filings, marriage license, all of that. And they all have numbers of some kind. Okay? So let's just look through. This is all debt that we were saying, wait a minute, we got to terminate with all corporate contracts with this debt so that we can stand as the creditors and not be held as surety for this debt. So at the bottom of the document, we state who we are and that we are not a United States citizen, nor any corporate citizen. I and all Moors are the universal, original, indigenous, sovereign, natural, divine authority at America and all lawful, national, international, universal titles, charters, trusts, and identification documents are the property of the heirs. All other foreign corporate contracts, trusts, and documents are notwithstanding. And then, we talk about all of this being, and no one has personam jurisdiction over me nor over any Moors. So whenever we do our documents, we include all Moors on our documents just because we know that some Moors are asleep and they don't know yet that they have the right to, that they're the creditors too. We don't do anything alone. We do it where we're all together. Okay. So let's take, I'm going to take one of these accounts, which is going to be the cell phone account, because we did do, here's the cell phone account right here. And I'm going to show you how I paid myself first with this that's due here, using my Moorish merchant card. So Virgin Mobile fraudulently issued account phone number, and there's the phone number. All services are prepaid by the people who are the universal, original, indigenous, sovereign, natural, divine, Moorish, national, republic, federal government, the Moorish American consulate, the Empire State of Morocco, and again, all that's listed at the top of this document. Okay, that's why we say put the letterhead there so that we're all speaking the same language together. And I'll say this about the termination of all corporate contracts. Some people needed to get it done in a hurry, so they only did a statement. It would behoove you, and you are encouraged, let me put it that way, you're encouraged to go back and put every account that you know of, and then if you have the account numbers, put it, and then at the bottom I put a blanket statement that says all other corporate contracts that presumably exist in the fraudulently issued corporate construct by all corporations, agents, principals, heirs, assigns, etc., that are for, and then we put Pauline, Denise Ritchie in its 3 forms issued by a dead corporation. And this is why this is going to be so important. Okay. So let's look at the cell phone bill here. We have the account number right here. So what did we do? We took this, we made sure we liened the United States Corporation Company, which all of these fell under the United States Corporation Company that we lien. We know what that lien looks like. But for those who may not, let's just take a quick look at the United States, the lien that we did on them. We did a lien, we also did a court action, and we issued an arrest command for the dead one, the dead United States Corporation Company. So let's take a look at that lien really quickly. Again, understanding the inner workings of how the cards work is so important. It's very important. Okay. And hopefully you can see this lien on the screen. This is the lien. Okay. And what we did was, all doing business as governors, and then Donald J. Trump doing business as President, United States of America. And this is an extensive lien. It's pretty long because it lists all of the state of corporations, all of them. And there was actually almost 60 of them. Okay, we liened them and put this on the public record, and then we notified. Okay, and autographed, et cetera. And we put, you know, of course, we included all Moors on this lien because, and any Moors can take this lien and use it as if you had done the lien yourself. We do encourage you to go ahead and do one for yourself, okay, so that you know the process, so that you know how to do it, and so that you have it with your documents that you send out, because we send this one out with everything. With the initial notification. We send it out with every initial notification. So we sent this to Virgin Mobile, which was actually bought by Boost Mobile. And when Virgin Mobile was bought by Boost Mobile, we just said, okay, we'll just notify Boost Mobile. So we sent all of our documentation to Boost Mobile. Not Boost Mobile, we sent it to the custodians in the office of Boost Mobile because we're the original Boost Mobile. And when we did that, then we said, okay, we have stopped them from doing the commerce that they were pretending to do. Now let's put our merchant cards forward and get those credits that are due us, because the ones that were doing business as Boost Mobile actually owed the taxes to the Moors. So what did we do? We created a document, an affidavit. Let's take a look at this. And we looked at this affidavit, the overarching affidavit that we voted on and approved as an appropriation measure, a de minimis fringe benefit. So this is what I did with that document. I took the one that we voted on and I said, okay, this one goes on the public record, and then I'm going to do a separate one for me. And you all can do the separate one for you as well. It's the same document. All I did was add a little bit of language according to, for example, this is the credit number, the creditor number. These are the creditor cell phone numbers. Can you see that on the screen? Hopefully you can. Okay. And again, it says the same thing that the original document said. I just added a couple of things. And then what I did was the prepaid merchant card number, I put that information. I put what the amount of credits were, $52 per month times 2 for a total of $104 plus equipment. I also ordered a new phone, commanded a new phone, and put the information on when they were notified and how they were notified and all of that. This is the tracking number, okay, and we have that information down at the bottom. And then we listed everybody who's been notified, all of the cell phone companies. And you all have seen this document in the previous cell phone video, okay? And then we just autographed this document and sent it out. Now, what we also sent, the document, let me just show you really quickly the document that we sent with it. We sent the fiduciary document. We also sent a copy of our merchant card and our Moorish ID. So I just made a copy of the merchant card and the Moorish ID and sent that with this document. In order to say, okay, this is the number of credits that should be coming back each month to my card. Now, remember, Morris, we're paying ourselves first. That's what we're doing, okay? The credits have already been put on the card. We put them there because we're the only ones who have the authority to do that, okay? And now all they'll be doing is keeping account and sending us a statement of each time those credits go on to the card. So we had to create that avenue and that mechanism so that we use our own credit. With this process and the way that our credit was being used, all we did was look at it and we said, okay, we see how they're using our credit, so let's use it ourselves. We had to know that we're the Treasury. We are also the Federal Reserve. We're the original Federal Reserve. Again, they haven't done anything new. All they did was copy what we have done. And then what did we do? We notified the custodians in the Office of the Internal Revenue Service that the real Internal Revenue Service is here, which is us. And we did that with the IRS code document that we've shown previously, where we gave them all the creditor codes. We said, custodians, we're here. You know that we are who we say we are because of what we know. Okay, we know all the creditor codes, so we put all the creditor codes for all bank accounts that belong to the heirs on the public record. We went through that book and we went through the codes and we pulled out every single creditor code that says these accounts are creditor accounts. And we said, custodians, we've assigned these accounts to these codes to our accounts, to our bank accounts, to all accounts, anything that has to do with us. We've assigned these creditor codes. Therefore, credits should be coming in. Then we had to continue to create the infrastructure so that those credits could come in, because that was not enough to do it, okay? That was just letting the custodians know that we're here, we know that this needs to be done, so that we're going to continue creating the mechanism by which you can transfer, those credits can be transferred, rather. So we sent the custodians all of the information that was necessary. We also liened the banks, the custodians in the office of the bank. We liened them because we're the bank. And we said, okay, make sure they have a copy of the creditor code so that they know why they see the changes in the system that they see. And then when they get anything else from us, they will know what to do with it. And we speak by affidavit. So now what we've done is lien or stop or terminate, lien and stop and terminate the United States Corporation Company, the dead one's ability to govern anything that has to do with our cell phones and these accounts. And so let me tell you what has happened with my cell phone since we did these actions. I told you in one of the previous calls that, and this is why I was so prompted to do the cell phone thing, is in March, because there was some corporate actors pretending to govern my cell phone, and they were saying, and I have screenshots of it and messages on here of them saying into the cell phone, because they weren't talking to me because they can't talk directly to us, but they were saying that 3G was closing down on April the 1st, and that that the phone is so old that they're gonna that the phone needs to be upgraded. Not that I need to, but that the phone needs to be upgraded. And they were saying that they were going to give people free phones, but they weren't giving people free phones. They weren't. They were saying, "Oh no, you're not eligible for that." They were trying to contract again. And so what I did was I sent them all of our documents, all 40-something documents, with the lien on the United States Corporation Company and the lien on the instrument that they were using called Pauline Denise Ritchie, all of that lien. And I provided them with the merchant card. But even before I provided them with the merchant card, because they received those documents and the appropriation, the proper appropriation documents for it, which is the ones that we've shown you, the ones that we put under every video, those 40-some documents that say not only do we govern our affairs, but we govern the movement of any credit. That's why the currency controller document is so important, and the Postmaster General document is so important. So each document in this set of documents it plays a significant role in what is called self-executing action. Self-executing means ourselves, we execute everything that has to do with our vast estate by claiming our titles and our abilities and our skills and all of that. We are the postmasters. We already know how to do those duties, you know, and all we're doing is honing our duties and making them sharper and better and stronger and faster and more effective. And so every few days, I would get either, this phone would get either a text message or a phone call, a message left, or a screen, you know, something saying, it would say your service is at risk. 3G is shutting down, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we didn't give them the consent to do anything about our services. So we did a court action on them. And then one day I picked up my phone and it would reroute the calls to someone claiming to be Boost Mobile. Well, they can't be Boost Mobile if I'm Boost Mobile. So they rerouted the call. I said, okay, good. I'll get to talk to them. What did I do? Twice, and I told you all this story a little while back when it first happened. I did 2 court actions on them, and they rerouted the calls back like they were supposed to so I could call out and call people. And then maybe a week later, it happened again, and I said, okay, if they reroute it again, I'm gonna do another court action on them. Did another court action on them. They fixed it again. And then a week later, it was happening on Saturday, 3 Saturdays in a row. So I said maybe they're doing the three court action thing, the 3 knocks that Masons do. When they knock 3 times, if they get the same answer, they have to go away. They did it again, and the ancestor said, okay, you already did 3 court actions, so just wait, just wait. So I waited about 10 minutes, and it brought it back to where it was supposed to be, and I was able to call out. And this happened just recently, like maybe a week ago. So these and I know that it kept happening because I needed to send a copy of the merchant card because I hadn't sent that yet. We were just doing the appropriation, and then we sent the original set of 40-something documents, and then we sent, now just recently on the 22nd, we sent the merchant card. So a copy of my ID and a copy of the merchant card by affidavit was sent. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, because again, those credits belong to us. They don't belong to anyone but us. Let's see. I'll show you what, and I actually, the ID card part. Let me just go to that. I'll show you what that document looks like. And again, they got red ink autographs for everything. And my white red thumbprint on my documents, which is what they get each and every time we send out commands, we send out fresh documents. And just one moment. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. And again, the credits are already on the card. All we're doing is not justifying the credit, but showing proof that the credits exist. Okay? We know that the credits exist. They've always existed. Remember, that number it's a super long number that they used to call the quote-unquote national debt, is when that number is put in its proper place and made into a credit, it's our credit. That's how much credit we have out there, and it's even actually more than that. But we at least need to claim that much. Okay? So this is what I did was with my state identification card, and again, we're the state, and the merchant creditor card, I did it as a hybrid document. It's a quo warranto mandamus restitutio. Why did we do it that way? Because what do quo warrantos do? Quo warrantos say you don't have authority to do any of the stuff that you were doing previously, and we do have the authority to do it. Okay? A mandamus just means it's a command and not a request or a motion or anything like that. It's a court action. And then a restitutio is we're restoring our vast estate. So restitution, not reparations, because we're not trying to repair a dead coffin. Restitutio means restoring this vast estate to what it was previously, before unlawful occupation. And I made it a hybrid document because we can. It's a court action, and then I just put proper identification and jurisdiction evidentiary statement. This is a court action. We're presenting our evidence. Proper identification and jurisdiction evidentiary statement of the sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, natural, divine creditor. The following state identification card and merchant creditor card are proof of acceptance of credit due to the creditor. And again, Morris, please do these documents and start sending them with what you're doing, because we're all the creditors. We're all doing this together. It says all custodians shall perform all custodial duties to include record said credits, exchanges, and transactions properly and immediately. And then I put both those documents and then just autograph it. And then I put proof here of the custodian, Jerome Powell, in the Office of the Federal Reserve. I put the autograph that we received there, or not the autograph, but the signature that the custodians put there. We also put we sent all of these documents to the Library of Congress, to the custodian in the office of the Library of Congress, and we got their autograph back, as well as the custodian in the office of the United States Postal Service. And they put a red and blue stamp here on the document. Office of the PMG, Postmaster General. So they know they're in our offices. They know that. They even put it here. It says received, Office of the PMG. Okay. So, and it's kind of faint, but you can still see it there. Okay. So, and that's at the bottom of the document. Oh, here is the markings from the post office. This one for the Federal Reserve, I don't see any markings on here, but the autograph is on there. They don't always put anything on there. They just put the autograph on there. Okay. And we put these at the bottom of the document. This says here, Capital District 208. Capital District 208. And this is the one that came back, I think, from the Library of Congresse. And then this is the one with the little, that came back from the Office of the Postmaster General. So this is the document that we sent with our ID and our card put together. And all we're saying is the credit is prepaid, the credits are already on there, but we're just keeping an account of those credits. So go ahead and custodians, do your job, put the credits, make sure the credits are on there. Not on there, but recorded properly, because we already put them on there. Make sure that they're recorded properly. And let's keep moving with the credits. So that is how you start getting back. That's reversion of the state. Okay? We're using our own credit to do the things that we need to do. And now that they have that card number, okay, now that that card number is on the public record, that is how the cell phone is to be dealt with. Okay, we've already dealt with it. We put everything in place, and the custodians are just custodians. So essentially, what they are going to do is flip the on switch and then leave the room. Because it's a system that we're speaking to. It's a system. It's always been a system. These wireless electronic devices and electricity in domiciles and water and all of that stuff, those are systems. There's nobody that comes and turns on a switch every morning so you can have water. It's a system. And whether they're there or not, the system is going to work. Cell phones, they're going to work. It's a system we put in place millions of years ago. But somebody has to be the head of the system, and all Moors are the head of the system. But we have to know that and state that, and then demonstrate it. And so with the termination of corporate contracts, I'm paying myself first by making sure that I'm not worried about things like this, cell phone bills and utility bills and things like that. So now I'm taking this termination of corporate contracts. Here, let me put that back on the screen. I'm taking the termination of corporate contracts, and I'm going to go down this list of it might not be up there. Let me see. What did I do? What's going on? I'm taking this termination of corporate contracts, and I'm going to go down the list. Now, some people don't feel like all of this is necessary to save themselves, but I do. Because, see, and it's not even a matter of what I think about it as much as it is, we must handle our own affairs. We have to handle our own affairs. And in order for us to start claiming new things, we have to handle what the old business first. We have to handle the old business first. And the old business was in the old name that the United States Corporation Company was claiming to control. We're going to be doing new business in our new status as the creditor. And it's not a new status, we've always had it. But now we know how to put that on the record and do new business with our new appellation. And then the new fiduciary document putting the all caps name under our sovereign authority because we created it. Okay, so we decapitated the dead one, the old one. We leaned it and did a court action on it, etc. Okay, leaned it, did a court action on it, and then issued an arrest command for it. Those are the three things we did with the old all caps and the United States Corporation Company. And then this termination of all corporate contracts. So now we can look back at our termination of all corporate contracts and we can start counting up the credits and start notifying. So I'll just start at the top of this and begin notifying that the creditor is here and all of these accounts and things, that's credit, and I'll send a copy of the merchant card and say, okay, put all the credit right there on that. So that's going to take care of all old business because we're moving into new things and new everything. And now that old business will be taken care of, what do we do now? Now we start looking at new business. What do we want? What do we see? What business are we going to do? And you all know about like the seall and also assisting others in doing whatever needs to be done. Those who may not know these processes, we're going to assist them because some of them are really good business people. They don't have, and they feel like they don't have time to learn all of this. Okay, no problem. We'll assist. Okay. This is exactly what our prophet was talking about doing all old business in the old name and all new business in the new name. This is what he was talking about. Take care of that old business and get it out of the way properly, the right way, because those are credits for us. So again, it's not debt. We handed the debt back to the debtor. It's credits now, and they're putting things onto our cards. That, whatever that cell phone amount was, $52 a month, is being put back onto the card. And again, we've already put it on there. All we're saying is make a note of it. You know, and again, we leaned the bank, we leaned those that were previously doing business as banks. And then we said, okay, now you all are custodians. So they can do what they're doing, but they are custodians. They're not fiduciaries. They're not trustees. None of that of our vast estate. Because, see, if someone else has to be the fiduciary and the trustee of your estate, then that means you're not competent to do it yourself. You're still a minor. And we're not still minors. We are competent heirs. So are there any questions or comments or wisdom of any or anything that anyone has? I'm going to move it out of Okay, there is a question in the chat about, you can unmute yourselves if you have any questions about what we've done here. Just one moment.
Empress Light.
Yes, it's on.
My comment is we're making all crooked roads straight.
Yes. 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 We had to do that. We had to do that. That's a must.
Why doesn't Chauncey Petit go to the Jefferson Northland in Detroit and claim his new conveyance for free?
Wow. What in the world was that?
Miss Black Lady, can you name the ancestors?
Wow. What did y'all hear that? Wow. Okay. So, let's see. It didn't make any sense, and that's okay because they weren't talking to us anyway. With regard to...
Hey, Pauline, maybe you can go to one of those conveyance manufacturing plants yourself. I'll videotape it for you.
Just one moment.
I'll videotape your demonstration for you, Paul.
These people are really losers.
Yeah.
This is how they spend their time, worrying about what, how we govern. It's because they have nothing. I mean, what do you expect?
You
Miss
know,
Black Lady, you can't name the ancestors.
we actually have made so much progress that that's kind of like, go ahead on, enough already. Let's just keep moving forward. So there was a question in the chat about, it says, can you speak on what type of credit card to order? When you say credit card to order, what do you mean, just to hear?
Okay.
Should it be plastic card with the magnetic strip or without? Yeah, no, you don't need magnetic strip. You don't need any of that because you're going to be speaking by affidavit the way, now remember, this is the same way that those that were previously doing business as corporations were doing things. They would send the numbers over and then the ledger would reflect whatever it is that they said about those numbers. And then they would notify the bank that the numbers on this paper right here, these transactions have taken place. So please record it on that account.
Why don't you show videos of yourself?
So you don't really need a magnetic strip. And in fact, here, the way this is working is we will, when we decide to do it as a nation, we will put our own magnetic strips and all of that onto whatever we're doing. But we don't need to use their stuff. We don't need to use theirs. Now, the question in the chat about should the cards be gold or any color, the way that I see this is that this is just the way I see it. And you can just let me know, how you see it as well, because we can always talk about that. The way that I see it, there's a little bit of noise coming from somewhere. Okay. The way that I see it, with regard to the colors of the card, is this. I see that if your card is gold, then it's $100 million. Okay. What does that mean? That means that you're going to be governing other businesses in your territory as well. Because there's some Moors that want to start a small business. When the new Moors come and they first want to start a small business, we're going to provide the finance for that. We were supposed to be doing this anyway. And then we show them how to do what we're doing. And that's for the $100 million one. But with the $100 million ones, I see the question in the chat. With those, that's for those who are going to be helping others get their businesses started. Okay, by way of competent appropriation. Okay, so we're going to be having, we're going to be having erudition sessions about competent appropriations of funds and all of that. Okay, that's what the $100 million ones is for. We have $100 million in our territory to fund this project, and this project to help homeless people, to help those who need erudition scholarships, to help build the temple, to help do whatever we need to do in the territory. That's what, to feed people who need to be fed, for housing and all of that's what the $100 million ones are for. That one is gold. Okay? And those who know appropriations, who've worked in acquisitions or appropriations, that card is you will understand why that card is the way that it is. And then for those who are not going to be assisting others that way, but you just want to go lay back on and do things every now and then, and you want to, vacation a lot and things like that, you don't need $100 million for that. You just need $1 million to do whatever you're going to do. But really the cards are called merchant cards because we all need to be getting the economy started in the favor of the Moors. That's really what the merchant cards are for, is to get commerce going, get merchant actions going on the land, lawfully and judicially and judiciously. That's really what the merchant cards are for. It's not for, for us to go and lay on buy an island and you and your folks go on the island and no one ever hears from you. That's not really what they're for. They're not for people to vacation. Not like that. Yes, we're on a vacation because that's a part of what we do, but it's for government work. It's for the building of the empire. It's to build up the people because the people need to be built up.
Miss Black Lady, you're really funny about this shit.
The people really need to be built up, okay? So I'll tell you this too about the building up of the people. For example, I know that, should I say this now? Okay. I know that the matriarchs need to be built up. They need to know who they are specifically. They need to have a place that they can come to birth the nation, where their children will never go into slavery. They need to have places where they can come and just be pampered from top to bottom, head to toe, start to finish, for days on end. They need to come someplace like that. They need to have a place like that, a temple where they can learn, where they can have all that they need, where they can express themselves and all of that. The emphasis, the matriarchs need a temple. I think often about the Temple of Isis and why her temple is so much bigger in the Grand Canyon than the rest of the temples. And as I've been speaking, to the ancestors about that, they've been showing that, our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said that if he told us the half, we would go back to sleep. That's the other half that we need to tell ourselves. The matriarchs must tell the other half. Because we birthed the nations and we continue to birth the nations. And since we are in the age of the matriarchs need a gathering place just for them so that they can renew, refresh, and rise. Okay. And again, that's not saying anything negative about the sons, not at all, not at all. It doesn't say anything negative about the sons. What it does say, though, is that the matriarch is rising in her power, and we need to facilitate that. The rising of the matriarch is happening already. We're just trying to catch up, and you know, and a temple like that would definitely catch up. Matriarch taking care of matriarch, where we grow together and we lock arms together and we move forward together. Because in colonialism, you know, we were pitted against one another, and we don't. It's a wrap on that. It's a wrap on it. It's done. And it starts with just one of us deciding, and that's any of us, not just me, just any of us. Each one of us deciding that we're not going to feed into that anymore, but that we're going to grow each other and facilitate each other's well-being and be what each other needs in sisters. Be for each other what we need for each other. And so, you know, that is one of the things that the ancestors have been really heavily, you know, putting in my spirit that we've got to, that must happen. So that the photo of the son carrying the matriarch out of the water, that never has to be recreated. Because we stand. So, and none of the sons could tell that story. We have to tell it. And again, we're not saying anything negative about the sons. We love them, and they have matriarchal energy also, you know. But the matriarch must tell her story, and we must care for one another. And so that the ancestors are putting that just heavily, heavily, heavily in my spirit. That physical structure must be built. So merchant cards are for those who have the vision to do things to expand the empire. Even if it's just a one-room massage place where you comfort the people who come through the door. That then any business needs a merchant card. Any Moorish business needs a merchant card because you need to be getting those credits back so that you can get the things you need. And that starts with first us paying ourselves first. Paying ourselves means taking care of anything that would have bothered us previously. Okay, when we were in our sleep. And by taking care of it, again, you lean the debt because the debt is not yours, and then you make room for the credit to come so that you can handle your affairs in terms of moving forward with a clean slate where business is concerned and merchant activities and actions. Okay, and this is what we said we would do when we woke up. We said we'll take care of what needs to be taken care of, and we're the creditors, we know that. So let me just say this about our companies, because see, all of our companies, for example, Boost Mobile, I am Boost Mobile. I am the IRS, I'm all of that. We are all of that in its original uncorrupted state. And so with those being our businesses are logging a credit on their books because we give a merchant card to the custodians. That all they're doing is logging a credit. They're logging a credit on their books and then a credit on ours. Because what comes from them is a credit, and then on their books they're going to show that it's a credit also because they have that card number. And again, with the merchant card, we put the $100 million in. So we're not taking out anything from the bank that we didn't put in there. So the bank even logs the credit. The custodians in the office of the bank, they lost a credit too of $100 million because they fined for that. We gave the custodians. We said, here, record that. We recorded it, and then they need to record it too. So that is how we pay ourselves first and then after that, anything that we see and anything that we want that we do what we've been doing. We put all of our documents forward for, let's say, structures, buildings. We put our documents forward, put that merchant card with it, do the numbers on the building, do the numbers on it. And then also where utilities are concerned, we do the same thing with the utilities on the buildings that we get. So that way we are not contracting as if we're citizens. We're doing everything from our sovereign status. And we're getting credit. We're giving credit and getting credit. And credit is flying around just like debt used to pretend to fly around on our vast estate. Are there any other questions or comments about how we're going about moving forward with the cards? And again, gold cards are the $100 million ones. We're preparing now to open our bank. Okay, that's what we're preparing to do now. It's open. Our bank is open already, but I just mean, when I say open, I mean just get a structure. If the structure is necessary, if the ancestors say a structure is not necessary, because it's already open, our bank is open. We're the bank. We're doing business with our cards and all of that. Okay. If the ancestors say open a structure, we'll get a structure. We know we have a structure already. We just have to see how the ancestors want us to move further on that. And you know, we're glad to do the work that the ancestors have sent us to do. The other cards, let's say, for example, those who want to start a business, and we mentioned this at the beginning of the call. Those who want to get merchant cards, a business plan is with a budget attached to it is part of that. Okay? A business plan with a budget attached to it is part of the merchant card process. Okay? So be prepared along with your documents.
And your garage,
to put that on the public record also. Okay? Be prepared to put that on the public record also. A business plan with a budget attached to it. And yeah, we're just, you know, and it can be just you starting out if you're doing consulting business. You know, that's fine. Put a business strategy and a budget together for that, and how you're going to assist the brothers and sisters. And I'll say this, we have to help everybody on the land. That's what our businesses have to do for us. They have to help everybody. So that's what we're preparing for, is so that anybody can come into our business and get some assistance of some kind in some way, and, you know, get what they need on our land. Because our land the debt on the land can't be here. And neither can debtors be here. So even the custodians are not debtors when they're doing the work that the Moors have assigned them to do. And they're doing it. So are there any other questions or comments about that? If not, we'll move forward.
You're crazy Negro black lady.
Just a moment.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Yes, Mom. I wanted to let all the Moors that are on the meeting and reference We here in New York City, we have a moorish sheriff, and I have mentioned that to you, and see if anyone was interested in being a moorish sheriff. We're looking to open up a facility, meaning where we would if anybody was to break any laws, any constitutional laws, where we will be holding them. So I believe I texted you about 2 weeks ago. I was mentioning that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I yield.
Islam. With regard to that, thank you for that, by the way, nobility. What we're doing with regard to enforcement, that was Noble J. Medina Bay. So if anyone on the call would like to, how can they reach you, nobility?
I'll put my number in the chat if they need to reach
Okay.
me. And then we can talk with the gentleman that's actually a moorish sheriff. He's actually removed some of our people out from correctional facilities and reference under the Moors themselves and the Moorish government, or also by using the indigenous peoples, the land, and letting them, these facilities, know that they have no obligation to hold in our people. And he did the proper paperwork, put it in, and he went and he picked them up. He picked them up in uniform, and they released them. I yield.
Islam. So go ahead and put your number in the chat, nobility, so that the Moors in the New York territory can get with you. And we honor the work that you all are doing there in New York territory. So we thank you for that information. And thank you for the number in the chat as well. Islam. So now that type of work is why we are putting the constitutions on the public record, as well as with regard to the Moorish merchant card. The constitutions need to be on the public record for those territories. Noble J. Medina Bay, can you ensure that the county charter is on the public record properly for that territory that you and the Sharifian officer are working in? Would you mind putting the charter? We've been putting those charters out onto the public record. What county is he in, nobility?
He's in Kings County, which is in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'm out of the Bronx, so that's not a problem. I believe those documents are in the Google file.
No. So here's how you get them onto the public record. You go out and you find the county charter for whatever county you're at. Let me make sure I use the proper wording. Find the county charter for the county the corporate county that was claiming the county that you're at. Pull that charter and then put it on Moorish government letterhead, put it in blue ink, and you can put it in all lowercase letters. And then go through it really quickly, and if there's any feudal language in it, just remove the feudal language. Put it, and then autograph it and put it on the public record. Study it, and of course we're studying the constitutions and charters that we're putting on the public record. It's best that we study those documents and put them on the public record so that the territory that the nobility is working in as the Sharifian officer is properly recorded on the public record as being exactly where he said it was. Because, see, they know that he's right about what he's saying. We're just making it so that he can point to the proper documentation and the laws that say he is exactly where he says he is. If he says he's at ancient Morocco at King County, because we're King County here too. So we put the King County charter on the public record. And it's our charter. So we went through it and we did what should have been done, which was uncorrupt the charter. And we put an uncorrupted charter on the public record from our government. So if you all would do the same, and then if you'll send me a copy of it, Justice J. Medina Bay, that would be great. And you and I can talk about that. We can talk about that over the next few days if you have any questions about how to do that. So far, where charters and constitutions are concerned, these are the charters and constitutions on the screen. Let me just make sure that this is on the screen. These are the charters and constitutions that have been put on the public record thus far for the different territories. And I wanted to show you all really quickly why we do this. What are we doing when we put these charters and constitutions in place? Just one moment. Just one. Okay. I pulled up let's see, there's this paper. Most of the counties, the custodians in the office of the county, have a charter. Let me pull this one up so that we can look at it really quickly and see why it is we're doing what we're doing. Also, what county charters mean is really what we're looking at. So this is just a couple of the articles from the Clark County charter. It says the county shall have all powers possible for a home rule county under the state constitution. This is why the state constitutions and the county charters are being put on the public record by us. Here, let me just show you one other thing. And you can Google home rule. Now look, look very carefully at what home rule is signifying. They knew we were coming, just so that you all are aware. Look at what home rule is showing here on the screen. It says home rule in the United States generally signifies a shift of governing power from the state to county or municipal governments to implement principles of local self-government. They knew we were coming. Okay, and not all of them have. We'll have to actually look in Black's Law to see what a better definition of home rule is about. But really, home rule, when you see that, just leave it in there, because most of these charters have a home rule part in there. All it says is that whoever is putting the charter on the public record is has home rule. That means any foreigners out there that are coming to do business or whatever they're coming to do, know that home rule means our courts govern that territory and the affairs that have to do with us. That's what home rule is. Our courts govern everything that has to do with the land. So when you see home rule in there, leave it in there and then put it on the public record. And that way home rule stays with the mother. It's always been with us, but we need to be able to even have our heirs to point and say, you see this on the public record? My grandma put that on the public record. This is home rule. So you have to come to our court for stealing my bicycle. You know, and things like that. So we want to make sure that our heirs have something they can point to and say, that's why we say what we say, and that's why we do what we do. Okay. And so when we place charters and constitutions on the public record, what are we doing? We are reactivating our ancient state and government. Okay. And even as we are aligning, the planets are aligning as well. Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and the Moon are all in a straight line this month. Can you believe that? So the cosmos is announcing that we are in alignment. Okay, pay yourselves first, heirs. Please do that. Take care of getting the credits that you deserve. Get them to you by way of the merchant card. Okay. Are there any other questions about that? And then with regard to the sheriff, the Sherifian peace officer at New York Territory, he's probably going to want to get a merchant card also so that credits can be, for his services can be sent to him by other Moors who need the services, because he should be compensated for his services. And then he'll be able to get more uniforms and more whatever else he needs. Okay. And then we keep track of the accounting and all of that, but also those doing the custodians at the banks keep track of it also. And again, this process is unfolding, so we're going to continue to have it unfold in front of us. The piece that was missing first was we needed to have our own currency, because you can't do merchant cards or anything. It has to be denominated in a currency that is a lawful currency. So we needed to implement Dollarium first together, all of us. And I will say this, Dollarium, the implementation of it has been far more successful than even I could have imagined when we first started discussing printing our own money. It has taken off and gone everywhere. So we're grateful. And now these cards have a proper mechanism by which to convey credit back and forth to the creditors. So with that being said, if there are no other questions or comments of any kind with regard to Islam nobility.
Hi. I have a question. I've completed the 40 documents. I'm in the middle of signing them. And then I'll put them on the public record. I'm having difficulty recreating an ID to go along with it. Does anyone have a template?
I tell you what you can do, Empress. You can screenshot my ID and do you have Word or WordPad?
Yeah, I did that. I still can't manipulate the pictures. Trying to get my picture in there, and I typed up everything. I looked on a couple of videos on YouTube on how to make one. So I'll still try that. So in regards to like mailing them, so I just mail them out to everyone that's listed on the like the UCC forms, and then I have to recreate a label as well. I have a question.
Have you seen the mailing process, the way that we mail our documents? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And I was kind of confused from the last time because I saw like 1099 on there, but I don't see it in the documents, that's provided. At 1099A and C.
It is an affidavit. It's an affidavit of 1099. And
okay.
so if you want to recreate that, all you have to do is just look at a 1099 form, but don't fill it out, and create an affidavit with that same information, but the information has to be properly noted. So it will be, your affidavit will start with the court action language in red, and then it would say affidavit for 1099, or it can be a 1099 mandamus. It needs to be one of the 13 great writs.
Okay.
Okay. So you can make it a 1099 mandamus, which I think is awesome, or a 1099 quo warranto mandamus restitutio, like the one that we do, because we've merged everything together. And not everything, but we merged the ones that we thought were important, like what you see on the screen: quo warranto mandamus restitutio bank writ. That might seem like a lot for some, but so is in proprio personas sui juris and proprio solo and in proprio heredes, but we say it anyway because that's how we ride.
Now, do I use my new appellation on the 1099, or
you would use your sovereign-born appellation. Your sovereign-born appellation.
The one that I
do you know what the sovereign-born appellation is?
So
let me tell you what it is.
My nom de guerre.
No, it's not a nom de guerre. You can't use a nom de guerre. That's a war name. You don't use war name.
Okay.
Now, what's the difference between a sovereign-born appellation and a nom de guerre? Who is it that originated it? Where do nom de guerres come from?
From the corporation.
So that one gets leaned. It gets leaned. It gets a court action, and it gets decapitated because that's a zombie. It's dead. And then there is also your sovereign-born appellation that sounds a lot like that one, except that it came out of your mother's. It came out of your sovereign mother's words. Those were her words. In the beginning was the word. So when God spoke your appellation, because mother is God. When she spoke your appellation, the day you crowned, she gave you your crown. That is the appellation that goes in blue on 1099 mandamus.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I use my sovereign security number.
Yes. 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 That is the number of the creditor and not the number of the beast.
Right.
Okay. They seem like they're real similar, but there's a huge difference in their origin. Who do they come from?
My sovereign mother.
Yes. She gave you a vast estate, Empress. All of us, all of our mothers left us a vast estate. And we must govern it. Yeah.
Okay. So each writ is a court action, correct?
Yes. Yes. Every one of them. We don't even speak. We don't put writs out. We don't write anything unless it's a court action.
Right.
Our courts are always speaking. Always, always, always. We are the law, and we are the government.
Correct. You went. I saw one of the writs where you went to the bank and you had where the subject signed. Was there like a form that you used, or you just had the subject sign on something that you created?
I had a green and white certified mailing return receipt in my hand, and I just drew a line on it that said received, and I said, if you'll just initial right here, that'll be good enough.
Oh, okay, because I was trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a green and white return receipt, and the ancestor spoke to me while I was standing there and said, just get her to initial that. I said, okay, just initial right here. And she initialed, and I was out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome, Evvery. And thank you for your demonstrations, because each demonstration you do is casting and breaking spells so that the Moors that come after you, it's going to be easier for them.
Yeah, I'm going to help a couple of friends once I get mine done. And one of my friends, her father and stepdad are in nursing homes, and it seemed like every other month they're putting her dad on hospice. And then he doesn't like the food, so she feeds him. He gets better, and they take him off, and she's trying to bring them home. And then they want to terminate the services from the VA.
And see, they don't have the authority to do any of that because they're just custodians. Those are not their resources. Those resources belong to the Moors.
Right.
So that has to be properly stated on, and that's what we use our documents for, because I was in the Air Force also, and I govern my VA benefits.
Right.
I govern them. So, but we have to, do the documentation, and then they need a merchant card. They need a merchant card for that, to take care of those, the nursing home benefits and things like that. Those things need to be on a merchant card, a Moorish merchant card.
I noticed so many of our Moorish veterans from World War II have never received their benefits.
They should be getting them. All they have to do, again, is state who they are on the public record, because believe it or not, those Social Security numbers were used to create some debt. So that debt needs to be, there needs to be a reversion of the state done so that the debt goes away and the credits come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for my domicile, do I do a reversion of a state writ?
The reversion of a state is, you can do that. Yes, you can do that. There's a statement that we put on our documents that is a reversion of a state statement.
Okay.
And again, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then more, as you're beginning to assist the people around you who need your assistance after you save yourself and after you've taken care of your affairs, we have to be very careful that our spiritual life is pure and taken care of. And when I say pure, just continuously cleaning the energy. Because if, because we want to do things in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we don't want to be trying to take advantage of people and getting people under us, because nobody's under anybody. Okay? Nobody's under anybody. Moors cannot be under anybody. So if you join a tribe, you're not under a chief. You're not, you can't be. Just like you can't be a citizen. You can't be under anyone. You can be aligned with that tribe. You can be a member of it. And then you all can contract to do things together. But where sovereign authority is concerned, you can't be under anyone, so don't let anybody tell you that you're under them and that you have to do what they say because you don't. It's not like that. What we do is we honor one another as we agree to contract together, and then we keep our obligations to one another. But that should not be an abrasive action. I have agreed to obligate myself to my nation, to do that in honor. I have agreed to do that. It doesn't mean that anyone's under anyone. It just means we have agreed to obligate ourselves to one another so that we assist one another as often as possible, period. Okay? But I can't, and we say it all the time, you cannot tell a sovereign what to do. You can't tell a sovereign what to do. Anybody who, please don't try that, because it didn't even work when we were asleep. People couldn't tell us what to do when we were asleep, okay? So it's definitely not going to happen now that we know we're all sovereign. Not sovereign citizens, because that doesn't exist. So, you know, let's just keep moving forward together, honoring one another's divinity, because that's what my obligation is I'm obligated to honor the divinity in each one of us. That is my obligation. And I do that every chance I get. Just honor the divinity in the air. And then let's just help one another. Let's keep moving forward together. You know, are there any other comments of any kind, anything at all?
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
You said that so eloquently, and thank you for saying that, because that's truth to life of the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That part. But Justice Dawood had a question in the chat. It says, Islam, after the routing number on your card, where are you getting your other digits from?
Okay. Let me go to that so that I can properly show. Okay. Okay, so this number, so you're talking about the number, this number, the 999 number after the routing number? So that would be if there's a routing number and then there's an account number. That would be an account number. If you have an account, that would be an account number.
Okay. So the bank card number is the card number that you already had existing. Then the routing number is from the institution custodian that issued it originally, but you reclaimed it, and then the account number that you've reclaimed also, right?
Yes, and it's not their account number. It's the custodian's in the office of the account. Yeah. But again, remember, we leaned the corpses that were doing business as a bank, because we know we're the bank, so we had to lien them first. These cards require that you lien whoever it is. You must lien them, okay, and put it on the public record and notify. Okay. Lien them, and also the nom de jure, and also and also the Social Security number. All of that needs to be linked so that we can properly state the resource and the instrument, because they're not properly stated in that current state, because it's issued from a tomb, from a dead corpse. Okay. All right. Okay. So if there be nothing further, I am going to we will adjourn here until Thursday at 7. So peace and grand rising to the fine air. Islam.
Islam, peace and grand rising.
Yeah.
Islam, grand rising, more. Islam, grand rising, more.
Peace and love, grand rising.
Islam, grand rising.
Islam. Grand rising.
Thank you in the chat. Islam. Brother Smith say Islam.
Islam.
Add more. Add more. Islam. And we will end in 5.